All right, let's look at Bethsaida. So this is the first story, right? And it's a strange one. When they arrived at Bethsaida, they brought to him a blind man and begged him to touch him. Notice, the blind man doesn't go on his own. He's, as we say in the South, his friends have to carry him to Jesus. So Jesus took the blind man by the hand, took him outside the village. Putting spit on his eyes, he laid his hands on him and asked, "Do you see anything?" Y'all, I don't mean to be irreverent, but this is almost comical. I mean, it's like, so, do you see anything? And the man looks up and he said, "I see people looking like trees and walking." So we're to make of that his vision is coming back, but Jesus has laid hands on him, but he's not fully healed. He has not fully seen yet. Then Jesus laid hands on him a second time. Then the man sees clearly, and his sight was restored, and he can see everything distinctly. What a strange story. A partial healing. There's much mystery about this. As a literal event, it's kind of hard to get. As a message, it's kind of hard to get. But there you go. But it has a very different character, the blind man from Bethsaida, as blind Bartimaeus. So then, after we get this story, Peter's confession, then we get another story, which is blind Bartimaeus. And as Jesus was leaving Jericho with his disciples and a sizable crowd, Bartimaeus, a blind man, the son of Timaeus, Bartimaeus, Bar in Aramaic was son of. So Bartimaeus is the son of Timaeus. He sat by the roadside begging. Sat by the roadside begging. Roadside. Keep that in mind. On hearing that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to cry out, and he said, "Jesus, son of David, have pity on me." Jesus, son of David, have pity on me. Keep that in mind. If you're making notes, the roadside, son of David, because we're coming back to that. Jesus stopped and said, "Call him." And so they called the blind man, and they said to him, "Take heart, get up, he's calling you." And so the blind man, Bartimaeus, threw aside his cloak, sprang up, and came to Jesus. Make a note. Threw aside his cloak, sprang up, came to Jesus. Jesus said to him in reply, "What do you want me to do for you?" And the blind man said, "Master, I want to see." "Master, I want to see." And Jesus told him, "Go your way. Your faith has saved you." And immediately he received his sight, and he followed Jesus along the way. The way. All right. I'm not sure why I'm back at this slide. Let's continue to look at Bartimaeus in a little bit more detail and look at a little bit of the Greek. As he was leaving Jericho with his disciples, a sizable crowd, Bartimaeus, blind man, son of Timaeus, sat by the roadside begging. We hear the roadside, we hear the way later on. And the Greek word is hodos. Hodos. I don't know how you pronounce it. Do you pronounce the initial H in Greek? I think you do. Hodos. And that means that could be a road, or it could be the way, which is that's how we do it. We talk about the road to Piggly Wiggly, but we also talk about the road to success, or the road to a happy marriage, or any number of things, right? The word tuplos is what this story uses for blindness, and it's often used in the New Testament as a spiritual blindness, being unable to see, and like the apostles couldn't see. But it's also used, interestingly, it's elsewhere used in the New Testament to mean things like idolatry, oppression of others, unwillingness to see, like unwillingness to see one's sins. Anablepo is seeing in Greek, in ancient Greek, but it's often used to refer to things like covenant. It's really fascinating. can be like looking something up, like we look something up on Google, right? On hearing that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to cry out and say, Jesus, Son of David. And then look down later, he again says, Son of David. The Greek word, by the way, for cry out, I don't know what it is, forgot to look it up. But I've read that we might think of cry out as just like sort of shouting. But it's more in the ancient Greek, it's more like a wail or howling, like a howl, wail. So that really gives us, that's when you know Greek. I wish I knew more. I only know a little. But when you really know the Greek, then you can see things in the scriptures that you just don't get very well from English translations. So think about that for a moment. I mean, just really literally close your eyes and think about he's wailing, Jesus, Son of David, have pity on me, not just yelling. And many rebuked him, telling him to be silent. And he kept calling out all the more, Son of David, have pity on me, or Son of David, have mercy on me. Same idea, just different translations. So Son of David, again, we had Peter just now telling us who Jesus is. And now we have a man in public, just a regular guy, blind guy, who is using a messianic title, Son of David, twice. Jesus stopped and said, call him. And they called the blind man, saying to him, take heart, get up, he's calling you. And he threw aside his cloak, sprang up, came to Jesus. Threw aside his cloak. So rather than speculating for myself about what that might mean, I want to invite you, if you need to pause the video, you could do that. But just pause, close your eyes, put yourself there as a spectator, maybe a few feet away from blind Bartimaeus. Or even if you want to, put yourself in the place of blind Bartimaeus and see the darkness and think about what the idea of throwing off one's cloak and jumping up, springing up, what emotion, what feeling, what faith that implies. Just do that little exercise when you get a moment. See what you come up with. Threw away his cloak. Threw aside his cloak. All right, so Jesus said to him in reply, what do you want me to do for you? Now, why did Jesus ask him that question? For one thing, so he's got a blind man in front of him. What do you want me to do for you? Then you have the whole issue of whether Jesus already knew everything. Jesus probably knew what he wanted. So why did he ask? And I wonder if he asks in order for blind Bartimaeus to say what he wanted. Not that Jesus needed to hear it, but that Bartimaeus needed to say it. So there's a meditation for you. In your prayers, if you want, sometime ask yourself, have Jesus say to you, what do you want me to do for you? If you're sick, if our loved ones are sick, to get back to our original topic, we pray for the sick, we pray for ourselves who are ill, and let's have Jesus say to us, what do you want me to do for you? And let's say it out loud. Say it. Jesus told him, go your way, your faith has saved you. Immediately the man received his sight, followed him on the way. There's that roadside, but the way. All right. Master, I want to see. Okay, go your way, your faith has saved you. And he got his sight back. What's the deal here? No magic wand, no pixie dust, no showmanship. No laying on hands, no spitting on his hands, no making mud pies, putting them in the guy's eyes. Right? Just incredible simplicity to it. Right? It's very different from a magic trick, to say the least. I just think it's the most beautiful thing, that encounter. It's just so naked. I can't think of a better word. Maybe that's part of my association to the man throwing off his cloak. Just this kind of exposure. I don't mean that he's literally naked. Might be. Okay. I'm almost done. Do we believe God physically heals the sick? We're back to that. No, we don't. Yes, we do. But if we do, only sometimes, right? So what might this mean for us now? This kind of as part of wrapping all this up. Now, I apologize for all this text, but it's so I can remember what I want to say. You're not supposed to use a PowerPoint as a teleprompter, but I am right now. So in these gospel stories, when you look at all of them, take them as a whole, the idea of physical healing is bound up with the idea of spiritual healing. They're not separated. They weren't separated in biblical times at all. And nowadays, they're not entirely separate. I mean, we're clearly in a more dualistic time when we tend to think of our physical health over here and our spiritual health over here and our mental health over here, and all those things overlap, tremendously. So do we seek physical healing for ourselves or for others? And that's not a crime in Jefferson County or Shelby County to want to be physically healed. Not a crime. Who doesn't? Do we want spiritual healing or do we want both? And if Jesus says to us, what do you want me to do for you? Are we willing to say, Master, I want you to X. So what are the implications of this in modern times, in the way we kind of separate out physical healing? Have we gone too far? And is that what's in separating those? And is that what holistic medicine's about, trying to integrate all those again? I think it probably is. We don't want to get back to the idea that if somebody's having seizures, they're possessed by demons. But we are, I think, in a time where we're sort of seeing these things as tied together. I just want to talk about one more thing. It's not quite off topic, but it's just something that concerns me, and I'll be as brief as I can. It concerns me that we're living in a time where if we get sick, we blame ourselves. That's something that's taught to us, I think. And so if I get cancer, it's because I ate the wrong foods, or if I get heart disease, I ate the wrong foods. I didn't exercise enough. We can now. If I get Alzheimer's, I should have paid more attention to I should have done more crossword puzzles. I don't mean to be glib about this, but it just seems like we're being told all the time that just about every illness is due to our behavioral issues or our emotional problems or our inability to do this, and I just hate that. I hate the idea. That's why I just am so moved by this picture of someone right now. There's somebody in a hospital right here that's just gotten the news about how sick they are, and they're sitting around blaming themselves. And I just wish that weren't the case. I don't know what the answer is, but it troubles me that it's our fault, So, well, I'm done. I hope this was meaningful to you, and I'm so glad that you got through the whole thing. And just know we're continuing to pray for you at Prince of Peace, and I pray for you, and I hope everybody stays healthy. Let's do what we can to stay healthy and follow the recommendations of our healthcare providers and move forward. Thank you so much. God bless.